We met last October and I asked for a photo and he said, only if I hold you like a baby.
Did I say that?
Yes, you did.
It sounds like something I'd say.
Cue the photo. Well, dude, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
So first the drummer, now the singer.
I mean, pretty soon you're gonna have the whole band in this chair.
Maybe that'd take a lot of coordination. But thank you so much, Andrew, for finding time in your schedule to make time for me while you're out here in Austin.
Thanks for being willing to give me a cleanup.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, you don't have to cut a lot of hair. You just have to cut the right amount of hair.
Yeah,
and that's every haircut, right? Yeah. So, real quick. So what is this predominantly how you wear your hair?
Yeah. I mean, I'm down to get a little cleanup on the back and around here, but not too much off the top. Yeah.
All right. And then
the shape is
pretty much there.
Well tested.
Okay. Cool, man. Awesome. So just to reiterate, I mean, some consultations take a long time, some short time. So get rid of all the teen wolf that's growing up on the neck.
Yeah.
And then do you like your neckline to look more clean or a little bit more like rough?
Not like barber, zip, just a little
more natural.
A little more natural.
Yeah. I like it, especially when you have hair that's longer on the sides to have more of that like looseness versus that like surgical. It doesn't work.
I've never looked good with the classic barber. Like it just doesn't work for me. It's got to look a little messy somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you look at like a lot of these like iconic like actors that people have stood the test of time, their shit was never perfect. Like Steve McQueen was never perfect.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Paul Newman,
there's
never perfect.
Listing some icons that I can get behind there.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I've always felt.
Yeah,
I'm going ultimate. I'm going like full on.
You. I mean, that's it. There was a time where I was trying for that, but that would not work with this hair anymore. I don't think.
As long as I have it, I'm fucking keeping it.
Yeah, I'm like the same boat.
Yeah. So. Let me put a cape on it and let's start cutting.
We are ready. Oh, I like this. I like this cape. This is like
one of my buddies from
Vibe. It's like a crest.
Yeah. So one of my buddies, he was one of the creative directors for Adidas, and we went to elementary, middle school, and high school together.
Yeah.
And I posted on Facebook like, "Hey, I need a creative graphic designer," and he goes, "If you don't talk to me, we're not friends."
Oh, I love it.
And I was like, all right. So I told him, I don't want it to be like hairdressy, but I don't want it to have like a lot of my favorite designs are like Porsche, Cadillac, like these symbols that are, you know what it is once you know what it is, but if you don't, you go, that's so cool. So
is this on your like business card?
Yeah. I have a company.
Love that.
I have a company that spells out TAB. It stands for tools and bags. We make bags and combs and clips and shit.
Oh,
like
sick.
That. Yeah. So
love that.
Yeah. So okay, let me just inspect, but
do your thing.
Yeah, man. Okay. So there's a lot to unpack in a short period of time.
Let's do it.
We're gonna do it.
I'm ready for it.
All right. As long as I don't derail my own self. So you sing in 3 groups.
That's true.
You are the singer of Something Corporate, Jack's Mannequin, and Andrew McMahon and The Wilderness.
That's correct.
Is there anything I'm missing?
Those are. I hope not. Okay. Because that's already a pretty heavy lift.
That's a lot. I've always real quick, just because I know you sing for 3 different groups.
Yeah.
How do you, when you write something or you're just noodling around on the piano, how do you decide which project that music goes in?
Well, they're all, they've all been sort of in a lineage. So it's like, Something Corporate was my first band, and when I was in Something Corporate, I was writing Something Corporate songs. I mean, there was a point towards the end where it seemed like we were, Josh was moving on to work on a side project, and so where I sort of started writing another Something Corporate record, but it seemed like we were headed towards taking a break. So some of those early songs, it was kind of on the fence. Well, will this be a Something Corporate song, or should I be starting another project? And ultimately, that became Jack's Mannequin.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always. I mean, the thing is, I just write songs, and whatever the project I'm working at the time, they tend to be the people or the project that inherit the songwriting I'm doing at the time. So it's not really like today I woke up and I wrote this and it seems like a Jack's Mannequin song. It's, right now, pretty much anything I write, I'm writing for the Wilderness Project, or at this moment, whatever might be coming next, whether it's that or some new thing that I start working on.
I've always been curious about that.
Yeah.
Because most of the people I know are in just one group.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I'm monogamous, but what would you, is that like serial monogamy? Like,
yeah.
You
go jump from relationship to relationship.
Yeah. So it's like, when I'm in those bands, I'm fully in those bands. Yeah. I'm working like that. And, it's more once we get to a point where it's like, okay, well, this isn't inspiring anymore. And and usually that, at least for me, is the catalyst. Is like, do I feel like I'm doing my best work, and is sort of being locked in place into like a name or a sort of like philosophy around creating music, or having to work with, just certain collaborators versus branching out. That tends to be when I go, okay, it's time to do something new. If that makes sense.
I had to ask.
Yeah.
Dude, I appreciate, thank you. I've always wanted that, because it's one of those things you want to ask somebody, but like the setting's never right.
Yeah, I get it.
And I was like, all right, I'm just asking. So you're out here for South by.
That's right.
So we're giving a time date of when haircut is taking place.
Yes.
It is March, mid-March.
Yeah.
And it feels like we're in Southern California.
Yeah, we're on Tuesday afternoon. It's beautiful out.
Yeah. So what brings you out to South by?
Well, a handful of things. The first of those is that we're in the middle of doing what I did with Something Corporate last year. We're doing for Jack's Mannequin this year. So, kind of going back through that history, sort of, dusting off that catalog and doing shows that are sort of exclusively Jack's Mannequin shows.
Right.
So the main reason I'm out here is that we're going to do a co-headliner with Band of Horses over at Stubbs tomorrow night with Jack's Mannequin. And then, as always with South by, there's so many things going on. So this was actually a cool moment to do a couple other things that I'm passionate about, which is, one of the big initiatives that I've taken on in the past couple of years has been, trying to do what I can as an artist to take the fight to the Stub Hubs and Vivid Seats of the world and the secondary market that is, inflating the price of concert tickets right now and making it hard for fans that don't have, just insane stores of cash on hand to actually be fans of music right now, and we really noticed it when we launched the Something Corporate reunion shows. The first one we put up was like within minutes, a huge percentage of the house was on sale on secondary market sites for as much as 10 times the price of the ticket that we were charging. And I that's really, that's become a bit of a soapbox for me, is just to kind of get out and say, like, it doesn't have to be this way. Didn't used to be this way. The technology has gotten so far ahead of the skis at this point that we're basically ceding our industry to pirates, and so I'm doing a panel on, I guess, Thursday morning? Okay. So I guess the show's on Thursday. Right. What day is it today? Monday?
Tuesday.
Okay. No, it's on Wednesday. So today's Tuesday?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. So on Wednesday morning, I'm doing a panel discussion with people from my management team, an agency, and a journalist who's going to moderate. So we can discuss just how hard we've been working to keep tickets fairly priced and going directly to fans and subverting the secondary market.
Yeah.
And just how difficult the industry is making that for artists and for promoters and everybody else, because there's a lot of incestuous relationships that now are benefiting from, taking tickets directly out of the hands of the fans and putting them into the hands of the ticket brokers.
Man, like, it's already hard enough just to even get tickets when they go on sale.
Yeah.
And then if there are tickets available in the secondary market, they're way out of budget.
Well, the reason it's harder to get tickets when they go on sale is because the scalpers in the secondary market are actually more well equipped have more tools and resources and are cynically scooping up a huge percentage of the tickets that would otherwise be going to fans who are trying to buy tickets at that time, and the sad thing is like the ticketing companies, are their grift of taking off the top it's already a bummer, but it's not even the big problem any longer. The big problem that's leading to these ticket prices is like, that is one of the problems, but the bigger problem that's leading to the exponential hyping of the price is actually these speculators who are treating our tickets like they're stocks rather than what they are, which is, what they're supposed to be, a transaction between an artist and a fan. And, that creates this soulful experience of sharing live music together, but yeah, so that's a conversation we'll have tomorrow. I mean, largely because we're just trying to sound the alarm, because there are people trying to pass legislation right now funded by these secondary ticketing companies, lobbyists, to try and protect their interests. And yeah, they're pieces of shit. And I don't think they deserve protection. So
yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. I'm all about people making a living. However, that just seems a little bit leechy like.
Well, it is. It's totally parasitic. And I think the reality is like, look, if there are artists that are okay with it, my position is, and if that's the deal, that people think that this is good for their business and they want to keep that in place. Like, my point is not to say you can't do it, but I do think it should be the choice of the artist or the person putting on the show to say, I don't approve of you trading my tickets for for anything above face value.
I mean, because the hypothetical the story I'm building in my head is, it's really scalper buys tickets.
Yeah.
However many, let's just say it's like 15% of the whole capacity.
Yeah.
10%. Let's do small. 10%.
It's probably more on most of these shows, but
and are they able to actually sell all of those 10%? I look at it from the artist perspective, because I was in bands, is first off, the band's not even making any of the money from the scalper tickets anyways. So it's in their interest to have 100% of their fan base in that room.
Right.
Versus, who gives a fuck about this third party?
Well,
these tickets that could have gone to amazing stoked fans.
Well, and the thing about it is actually there's data out there that proves that, once these brokers and sort of speculators have made, because they reshape the economy around the show quickly, right? So even a show that maybe wouldn't sell out, if they buy up 30% of the house and now the show is sold out, now they can then control the market and say, well, these tickets are worth 2, 3, 4 times what they're worth. Eventually, a lot of times, some of these shows, you'll find, well, they can't actually get rid of that many tickets at that much of a price. And so now you're seeing these ridiculous, what they call drop counts in the business. So, where maybe your drop count usually would be, the drop count is how many people are actually in the building versus how many people bought tickets. And drop counts are becoming a real issue. So now you're having a quote unquote sellout, but maybe 20% of the house, 10% of the house actually never came because they couldn't get rid of those tickets. Maybe they made their money selling the first 50% for 4 or 5 times that, and then they couldn't get rid of the rest. And they just said, well, whatever, I already made my money. And so now that room isn't full. There's not people buying t-shirts. There's not people doing all those things. So, I mean, it's super layered, and it doesn't even change. Like, I think the biggest thing, and in my opinion, is just, I think that music should be available to people of all economic statuses. I don't think that it should be for the rich only, or for people who, are going to have to trade out their mortgage payment or their car payment that month because they really want to go see a Taylor Swift show or whatever. It's just, it's like, I don't know. I just don't think when living in that world where we're keeping art away from the masses and making it a rich man's game is it's just a dangerous slide culturally.
Oh, I was looking at secondhand tickets for the Machine Head Fear Factory show when they were playing over at Emos. I was like, I haven't seen these bands together in years.
Right.
Metalhead, self-proclaimed metalhead.
Rocket.
Yeah. I was like, holy fuck. The tickets were going for 120, 150. Yeah. And I was like, fuck. And then I went to go look at secondary tickets to go see Pantera when they played. And those tickets, face value, I believe, were already like 200 and something.
Oh, just for already?
Yeah. And then the numbers for the six. I wasn't that interested in going because I remember a neighbor friend was like, dude, I was looking for tickets for like 3 to 4. I was like, I'm not. And I also, you know what? I already saw the original Pantera live in 96.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Well, that's cool.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that would have been fun.
I tell everybody watching Dimebag on stage.
Yeah.
If you've ever remember watching Fraggle Rock.
I do remember watching Fraggle Rock.
When you see the puppets just running around.
Yeah. Looking
like they're just going crazy.
Yep.
That was Dimebag. Except every note was perfect. Which is just like, as a musician, I'm like, how do you do that level of craziness and then absolutely just nailing it?
I have a good friend who was tragically at the concert.
Really?
Yeah. And having that conversation with him, I was just like, still scarred to this day from being there for that. But
I got a phone call back before it broke on the news. One of my buddies, his friend was guitar teching and said, "You won't believe this." And I was like, I look at my phone, I'm like, this can't be like you got the news wrong. It can't be. And then sure enough, 2-3 hours later, all over the news wire. It was absolutely. So you're out here making fights.
So
fighting for the fan.
Trying. We're doing what we can.
Are there other bands that are and other artists that are like fighting the fight
for sure?
With you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's sort of a next step is to really kind of try and create some sort of cohesive alliance between the other acts that are engaged in this process. Like I know, for instance, Billie Eilish is really embraced. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, Ryan, but I think her and her team have really embraced the idea of face value exchange, which is really what we're kind of trying to fight for. Is just basically saying, if you want to get rid of your ticket, you can get rid of your ticket, but you just have to sell it to somebody for the same price you bought it. Like just person to person trade. Yeah. But look, I think, yes, there are other artists who care about this. I think a lot of artists don't, and that's, and again, I'm like not here to judge anybody for any of it. My whole thing is like, all I want to do is have the right as an individual who puts on a show to say, yeah, these tickets are not your commodity to trade. It's a one-way transaction. And if you want to get rid of it, sure, sell it back for the same price you got it, or, but just don't use my show as a way to profit, like it's just not it's not I don't know, just doesn't seem like it's benefiting fans. It's making it harder for fans to go see multiple shows because they're having to spend more and more money to see concerts.
Oh yeah.
And it's already a tough time. Things are so much more expensive for all of us on the road. And it's like, if we as artists aren't trying to stick it to fans, the idea that there's a third party running around doing it anyway, when you're like, dude, we're not trying to take this money off the table. What the hell? What is your business doing that?
It feels like there's a lot of like this third party entitlement.
Yeah, but it's funny. Like I think about it, it's like, in most industries, when a third party gets involved, things get cheaper. It's like, why is it that it has to be the music business that it's actually just gets more expensive? You know what I mean? It's like hotel rooms. Okay, I can go get a discount hotel room on a website. Yeah. You think like how would a hotel chain feel if all of a sudden I bought up half the rooms in their hotel on a busy weekend and started reselling them?
Yeah, you get them.
You know what I mean? Like where is that an acceptable economic standard other than in my business? It's like a very strange thing.
Especially when you put it in that context of switching to another complete industry.
Yeah.
Everybody, I think at that point go, oh, that's a reasonable thing to be upset about.
It's totally reasonable. It's insane. It's just been allowed to get out of control. I mean, I think that's the problem. It's like, I'm a huge fan of technology, but when it's sort of weaponized and understood earlier by people who are choosing to take advantage of people, and it gets so ingrained in the culture that all of a sudden it seems like, oh, this is just a foregone conclusion. And I'm we're just fighting hard to change that. But enough on that. I could talk about this till I'm blue in the face, but I'm sure we have other things.
I don't let it be blue in the face.
Yeah. You're trying to make me look pretty, not blue.
I know.
Come on,
I'm just getting a little tidy up on the hair on it. There's not a lot.
I'm feeling good.
I'm not trying to take anything, make it look too
a sculptor over here.
Just I feel like a bonsai sometimes.
Yeah,
just trim in and prim it.
Back it.
So, and then you also have your foundation.
Yes.
Which I think is cool because one of my friends, he was 22. He was exiting. So I'm 43.
Yep. I'm 42. Yep.
Okay. So we're like the same age.
Yeah. I mean, you're old. You're older, but barely.
You turn 43 this?
Yeah, I'll turn 43 in the summer.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So my buddy Paul Bahu and him and I, we went to high school together and we're different bands. And then it's during the MySpace era, I remember. And he said that I started seeing him post that he had a panda. And I didn't understand what he meant by he had a panda. He had named his Hutchinson lymphomic tumor a panda. Because when you tell people you have a panda, nobody freaks out.
That's amazing.
And he goes, "What a great panda! Let's kill the panda."
What a great story!
It was so great.
Although killing pandas doesn't sound cool either, but I respect it. I like to tell
you. Yeah. This was long before the meme culture ever existed.
Yeah.
2000s.
We didn't love pandas as much.
The memes at the images were fucking great. That was hysterical. And like every week he'd post something on his MySpace, on his update. But thankfully he had great insurance because he was still on his parents' insurance. And not only was he on his parents' insurance at that time, he had great insurance. His parents are on their own business. To handle things. He also had amazing family support. He had family who were in the medical field that moved across country to be with him.
Yep.
And, he's been cancer free ever since.
So glad to hear that.
It's great. Yeah. Some of my buddies from Temecula. But when I saw you at this past October, right before the weekend of ACL, and you were talking about what Jack's Foundation does.
Yeah.
And how it really does target a particular age group.
That's right.
I found that to be the most, if I'm now going to donate anything for cancer, I want it to go to your foundation.
Yeah.
Because I personally know what it's like to have a friend go through that in their 20s. I've actually had a few friends who had Hodgkin's lymphoma in their 20s.
Yeah.
One of them had no support medically, financial, anything. The other had the exact opposite. And I think it's such a great, noble cause. I was like, tell me about how you got into that from your own personal experience, because that
So I mean, I was diagnosed when I was 22. I had ALL, which is a form of leukemia. And what we focus on in Dear Jack is not arbitrary at all. So it is well documented that people ages 15 to 39 fall into this category of cancer patients that are far less researched and have way fewer resources and nonprofit support. Yeah. A lot of energy, for good reason, is given to pediatric cancer, but even pediatric cancer, a lot of those rates, because of the attention and research that they've gotten over the years, those cancers are much more survivable now because of that attention. This 15 to 39-year-old demographic, not only are they facing an uphill battle with research, but as a lot of those cancers are survivable, the survivorship component of being a young adult who has then had cancer is just such a loaded situation, right? So if you think about where you are when you're a teenager, your 20s, your 30s, it's like you're in these super pivotal moments of life where the wrong decision or getting knocked off course can change the entire trajectory of your life, you know? And so what I was finding on the other side of cancer, as I started to talk to people, it's like you have people who've now been financially ruined in their 20s by just trying to stay alive. You have people who were in college who had to put it on hold and are struggling to get back, but they're also dealing with all of these additional mental health issues that come along with being a patient or a survivor in this demographic. Feelings of alienation and depression and suicidality, all of these things are drastically augmented in this particular subset of cancer patients. And so we try to deploy, outside of just advocacy and letting people know there's a community here for them and that they're not alone and that this is normal, what they're going through. Our programs have really been geared at, on the patient side, doing the kind of wish granting that isn't extended past the age of 18 in like a program like Make-A-Wish, for instance, right? So for patients that are in hospital, we work with them and their families to create experiences that are something to look forward to while they're in treatment and give them some great memories, even in the middle of like their struggle. My wife and I, we went through a really difficult transition back into the world of the living post-cancer. There's a lot of inequity and imbalance in relationships once a partner is your caretaker, but then you're trying to get back on a solid footing as a couple. So we offer retreats for couples that are entering survivorship too. So that's another big thing that we do to try and restore balance to relationships post-cancer so people can get back to living and get back to loving each other outside of this caretaker, cared for role.
I think also from having clients who've dealt with a spouse, they're obviously much older. If she did lose herself, still like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and things like that, Lewy body disease of that nature, is the amount of the unwanted responsibility that they're faced with.
The burden on caretakers is
nobody ever asks them, how's it going to me?
Yep.
They're always going, how's such and such? It's like, and it wasn't until I had a client, she explained, she goes, you know what, the whole thing, she was telling me after her husband passed, she goes, the whole time, she goes, now people are asking me how I'm doing.
Yeah.
She goes, they didn't ask me how I was doing when I was going through it. She goes, that's when I really wanted somebody to be there for me. And it really opened my eyes. I'm like, wow, I've been that person too.
Yeah.
I've never asked somebody when they were going through it.
It's a big part of what we do is to try and destigmatize the experience of caretakers and really bring them into the fold so that question, the same question that you would ask to somebody going through it, you are asking of their primary caretaker and the people that look after them, because it is a cancer in itself. They're losing their lives. They're helpless watching their partner go through something that could be their undoing, and having to deal with, and especially in this demographic, we're talking about people that are oftentimes raising children, possibly losing a primary, primary financial support in the partner that's now in the hospital, and so I think, and seeing my wife's experience, and it took me a lot of years and a lot of therapy to finally really click in and understand just how traumatic what we went through was for her specifically, and how it individually impacted her life and had its own lasting impacts. It became a real catalyst for like, okay, now that I understand that and I see that and I have this organization, how can we really make it not just about this person who's going through the cancer or surviving it, but really bring their support system into the fold and let them know that we see them and that we recognize their experience as equally harrowing, because it often is, if not more so sometimes.
I have no way to even relate. I have no way to even relate to like what it would be like for me to, or vice versa, my wife to be my caretaker. But I know what it's like to take care of my wife or my kids when they've been sick and I haven't. And you're trying to just run the house.
Yeah.
You're just trying to run the house. And they're just not feeling great. They're not leaving the bed for a day or two.
Yeah.
I know that is never fun. Nobody welcomes it when the illness comes in their house, usually around fall. But I'm imagining that it's like whoever's going through what you and your wife went through, you would willingly trade that level of stress of what I'm talking about any day of the week of going through that treatment, because it's so much. You just know it's only going to be 2 or 3 days of that.
Yeah.
And this could be months, years.
And it's an overwhelming overwhelming thing. And I mean, there is a lot of beauty in the experience, and I think the reality, and I say this so that somebody's going to be diagnosed tomorrow and hear this. And I will say that even going through it, as horrible as so many aspects of it are, it is incredibly clarifying. You learn a lot about what's important. You learn a lot about who you love and the people that matter the most to you. And it's just another journey in life. We go on many of them, and it's like, I always joke, there are people like, well, don't you feel like you just learned so much and you're so much wiser, and, would you do it all over again? And for years I was like, fuck no. That was always, I was happy to be the guy to be like, no, if somebody told me tomorrow, would you want to have cancer again? I would always be like, no, of course I wouldn't. That shit sucked. Now I have a family and I have this life post cancer that's amazing. And I look at it differently, but that being said, when we were in it, we laughed. We had beautiful days. We had really deep, wonderful conversations. And though it was not my favorite thing in the world for sure, it's like anything in life, there's sort of you have to be willing to accept that suffering is a part of living. And that is, that is certainly, there's suffering in there, but there's a lot of beauty if you can stay calm enough and try and work with your doctors, work with your people, and find a peaceful path through it,
So if somebody was wanting more information, they would just go to
Dear Jack Foundation. So it's dearjackfoundation.org. You can figure out how to apply to be a part of our programs. There's also lots of resources on there. My staff is easily accessible if if people have questions or we do community initiatives where we have monthly talks with experts in, a range of issues that will impact young people with cancer. So things from nutrition to fertility, psychologists and social workers, all sorts of things, just to kind of, build out a little bit of a bridge for people who, when you're young facing cancer, like I think a lot of us, our last thing we do is go I want to join a support group. You know what I mean? It's like just not wired into our DNA. So we try and make it a low lift that you can come, be a part of the community and hear what people have to say and choose how much you want to engage as well.
Quick question. Should I have rents?
Maybe just like
not much,
quarter inch, maybe, I don't know. I wouldn't go up too high.
I mean, I think the length is really good.
Yeah, just clean it up. I was
curious about the density. Do you like them to be a little thicker, or do you like them to be a bit tighter? Your call.
It's your call. As long as you don't as long as they cover the area they're intended to cover it,
okay,
and don't look spotty or like you can see my cheek through the side, I'm good with that.
No skin fade on me.
Yeah.
We can do that.
It's good shape. Look at I'm trying. I feel like it feels good.
Steve Burton gave me a lot of practice doing these micro haircuts.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I was
I'm feeling it.
I was like, motherfucker, like, how do you get a haircut every week and a half? And I'm like, why do you do this? He's like, General Hospital, I have to do this.
Well, let him know that I'm coming for his job on General Hospital.
You should do that. Yeah, he's an OC guy too.
Oh yeah, great.
Yeah. You guys are all OC.
My people.
Yes, my people. Yeah. We're good Mexican food thrives.
We were having this conversation last night about where to go to get Mexican in town.
Oh man, what do you guys got on the menu for tonight?
No, we're going. So they're hosting a dinner for the panelists. So I don't know where that's happening, but hopefully it's good.
There's some good food around here.
Yeah, there's some great food around here. I just had a sick bowl of ramen.
Okay.
We had a good dinner. We had some good sushi last night. I'm never mad eating in Austin.
Yeah,
it's such a great town.
Food's good here. It's definitely like a whole nother ball of wax of food. Wow.
Yeah, for sure. Look at that.
There you go.
Look at that.
Not too crazy. Hey man,
I feel ready for dinner.
Anytime I could pick the brain of somebody who's lived a life I've never lived is it's always my favorite thing of getting to just figure out what somebody went through.
Everybody's lived a life we've never lived, right?
Right.
Everybody else. We're the only ones who did this one.
I'm curious how that works with twins though.
It's totally different lives, man.
I have a friend of friends. They're the identical twins. One of them is taking Propecia to not lose his hair.
Oh, I just had this conversation.
And he's been taking it forever, right?
Yeah.
His twin identical brother never took it.
And he's got hair.
Bald as shit.
Oh, really?
So bald.
So the one who's the Propecia guy, is he just locked?
He has hair. He's like, look, it's not the hair I want, but fuck, it's more hair than my brother has. He goes, I know my future. And I that's amazing. It's so good, right? And then he's like, I asked him, I go, do you ever play tricks? Because I saw a photo when they were younger. And they were like identical. I could not figure out who was who.
Yeah.
I go, do you ever play pranks on your parents?
Yeah.
It's like, I'd have to shave my head. I was like, what? And then that's where the whole story came about. Like, man, that sucks.
That's funny.
It is funny. It's funny.
Yeah.
Put a little bit of.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, do your thing.
So when you're starting something corporate and you're like a teen, right?
Yeah.
You had to have been a teen.
I was.
And then you're like, all right, we're going to start this band. All right. Bass, guitar, check. Drummer, absolutely. Guitar is cool.
Yeah.
Piano, fuck yeah. Let's do piano. Oh shit, we have to travel with it.
Yeah.
How complicated is it to just travel? Yeah. I mean, I have a piano in my house.
Yeah.
And I felt just when it arrived here, it needed to be tuned.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. It's like, I started the band and I played piano. So it was kind of always like, that's just the thing.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, even when we started doing our first shows were like at my high school. And like, I just told the choir director who I was friends with, like, can I borrow your piano? And so there was piano on stage when we started doing it. And then when we started playing out, you know, we were resourceful, and I think it was Brian that somehow there was like a motorcycle trailer in his family somewhere. Yeah. So we would just take the upright piano, and it's just a heavy piece of furniture. So we would just we threw it on the motorcycle trailer and strapped it down with motorcycle straps and drove it down the street.
That's awesome.
Huffed it onto stages. And so, I mean, I think, you know, we learned to do it early by just
gigs,
just doing it,
yeah.
You know, and the amount of, oh my God, engineers and club owners and local crews they hated us. And that continued. I mean, there's still some form of that still happens in you know, in my world today. You know, we can just play a keyboard, and it's like, because that shit sucks. You know, like
even the way the keys, it doesn't feel the same.
I'm all for, you know, bands playing keyboards, but it's like, it's really hard to do what I do, playing piano on every song, like and it doesn't feel the same.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm glad that we chose the hard road, because I think, you know, this is a visual medium, live music, right? Yeah. And when we would start showing up to shows and a piano rolls out on stage, people who don't know your band are all of a sudden going to be like, what's going on?
There's not, I was telling my wife, there's not a lot of bands that have pianos that's like the focal point, right?
Yeah.
But then I started thinking about it, I'm like, there actually are. I mean, obviously there's you guys.
Yep.
And then there's like Ben Folds 5, right?
The greatest.
Billy Joel.
Greatest.
Guns N' Roses even has a fucking piano.
Hell yeah.
Right?
Bruce Hornsby, Elton John.
There's a lot.
Fiona Apple.
There's tons. I started going down the list. Yeah. There's actually a lot more.
Hell yeah.
Fucking Queen. I mean, how do you not?
The greatest.
Yeah. There's so many great bands that do have pianos. I was like, well, why don't you see it more?
Because it's a pain in the ass.
Okay. Well, good. Okay. Yeah. So my hypothesis was correct. It's just
it's difficult.
It's difficult. It's like moving a couch.
It's difficult.
Or a refrigerator.
It's expensive. It's difficult. But, you know, hard things are worth doing.
I agree.
That's where you get the greatest reward. Do hard things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the whole JFK quote. We do it not because they're hard, because they're, or whatever it is.
Not because it's easy.
Not because it's easy, because it's hard. Exactly. All right. I know we're running time. We're going time. Oh, no. All right, cool. Let's do it. All right. Sorry. There's somebody off camera here.
My manager's cracking the whip.
Yeah. Andrew's handler is over to my left.
He has to put my leash on as soon as this comes off.
And the bark muzzle. Yeah. While the Uber's calling, I just have a question.
I'm going to fix my flyaways while we do this. Yeah, here we go.
You want hairspray? It's windy.
No, I like it. This is good.
What is one music genre that people would be probably surprised to know that you're into, that people may not suspect? I'll go first. I have a guilty pleasure of loving the song Since You've Been Gone.
Oh, great. Yeah, Kelly Clarkson's.
Mainly because at the very end, when you listen to it headphones, there's one middle track that's not auto-tuned. That's where all the feeling comes from.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite part of the whole song. So like, that's like a guilty pleasure of mine.
Yeah. Female pop stars are like very high on my list. Like I'm wearing an Olivia Rodrigo t-shirt right now. You know, like I'm like the new Gracie Abrams album is like, I'm jamming Gracie Abrams right now. Like I don't know that would surprise anybody, but like, I just really gravitate toward that songwriting and that, like, I find there's like so much, like, I love pop music. And when I find like a really great female pop star that's like writing her heart, like those are my favorite artists. And like, so like Olivia was like a revelation to me because I love those records and I love her perspective. And I feel like it's coming from such a genuine place and the hooks are sick. Fred again, like in the EDM world is like my other favorite act in the last 4 or 5 years. Like I'm obsessed with that. And I like, there's a lot in like the electronic space that I actually really love and find sonically so stimulating that I'm always trying to work stuff like that into my sort of own productions and my own music. But I just love good songs. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't really matter. I'm like genre agnostic when it comes to like, if it's a great song with a really great melody and the lyric is earnest and feels like whether it's just like a party jam and they nail it and I want to, and I get it. And it doesn't feel sort of like a stock kind of boilerplate, like let's go out tonight and have fun, like, but if it feels earnest in some way and it still does that. And it's like a dance track. I'm all in for that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just had to ask. I'm always curious about that with musicians.
Yeah. I don't listen to a lot of metal, but
you don't have to,
but
I probably listen to enough metal for the whole room.
But I had like a Mastodon phase though, where I got really into Mastodon.
I never got into Mastodon.
You should. They're fucking.
I tried. I like my favorite track by Gojira was the one they played on the Olympics.
Yeah.
Like there's certain metal, like it hits me or it doesn't. But like I'm also like huge Interpol fan, right?
Oh, interesting.
And I'm seeing Deftones tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
So like I'm all like I like moody, and so
So I would think you would have I would have thought you would have gotten into that Mastodon just because it's like psychedelic and kind of
one of my metal, I like it to just come in there, and I want it to be like the sonic equivalent of probably what it's like to get waterboarded. I want it to just be like, and then you're like when the song's over, you're like, man, that was great. All right, now I'm gonna go listen to Neutral Milk. Hotel.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Like,
all right, all right.
It's just gonna like I need the highs and my lows, So, but I was always curious. Well, so thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for
doing the quick one. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Adios.
Cheers.